Hello, Facebook fans and YouTube fans of DX Engineering. It's time to talk about Contest University. And today we're going to talk about Contest University 2025, which is right before the Dayton Hamvention. And today we have a very special guest. It's Jim, W5JCS, a longtime student at Contest University. Hello, Jim.
Hello, Tim. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, it's great to have you on. And Jim, I know you've been coming to Contest University since the beginning, and you keep coming back for more. And maybe you could tell everybody a little bit about what you have gained out of Contest University and the whole experience of coming up to Hamvention.
Well, I'll tell you, Tim, Contest University is absolutely the best thing about my Dayton experience. And I've been attending Dayton for a long, long time. I knew you when you lived in Oklahoma. I saw you on Bob Heil's Ham Nation talking about Contest University, and it sounded kind of interesting. I'm not a big contester necessarily, but as I've told you, I think it could be entitled Best Practices in Building and Operating Your Station. And I learn something every time. The professors are outstanding and very knowledgeable. This last year, Frank Donovan talked about propagation. I've been in this game since I was a teenager, listening to shortwave radio, so I thought I knew something about propagation. Well, Frank has written a chapter on propagation in the handbook. I bought a new handbook where I could read and study that. And here's each year you get all the slides from the PowerPoints, and here's my book from last year. It's just tremendous. And Anthony, for example, last year talked about contest operating for small or medium stations like mine, and it just gave me such enthusiasm. I would say Contest University brings back the excitement and enthusiasm of my participation in ham radio. I look
Well,
forward to Contest University so much.
Well, and we're thrilled that you keep coming back year after year, and you're certainly an inspiration to a lot of the younger people that are coming, as well as some of the folks that are just getting back involved in the hobby. Jim, tell us a little bit about your station. I know you've had some weather down there recently, but tell us a little bit about your station and maybe even some of the operating events that you participate in.
Well, Tim, I have a very modest station. I am in town. I have a nice lot, but not a huge lot. And I have a 48-foot tower, which I've had a tri-bander on and a 6 meter uh, beam. We've recently experienced, you know, our town well. We've recently experienced the worst natural disaster we've ever had in the 100-year history of our city. We get prairie fires this time of year. And in the newest area of our town, where we have some of our finest homes, it came through and absolutely burned over 100 homes to the ground. That was because of a huge windstorm, dust storm. And my reflector on my beam, instead of being horizontal, became a vertical. Now we had high winds. That was 2 weeks ago. I turned the beam thinking maybe it would blow back straight. This week in high winds, that reflector blew off my beam. So I'm thinking maybe it's time to look for new tri-bander at Dayton. I worked DXCC for my station prior to having the tower with just wire antennas, and I had a vertical for a while. So that's certainly possible. I can't say I'm an avid DXer, but I thought with 100 watts and maybe wire antenna, maybe I can do it, and I did it.
You
So
know, that's a great story, Jim. In that, perseverance accounts for a lot, and having your butt in the chair and tuning the big knob, the VFO knob on the radio, is really really important. And you mentioned about some of the things that you've learned from W3LPL, Frank Donovan, and over the years. And certainly he has influenced tens of thousands of contesters by sharing his knowledge. And so, Jim, can you comment just a little bit about, you've read his writings in the handbook, you've seen him present, but how cool is it that you actually get to sit within 10 feet of the guy, at Contest University and hear him teach you and tell you some of his knowledge?
Well, Tim, they're so helpful, and he certainly is. And so after the session, you can ask questions. I have his email, and he responds if I have a question anytime during the year. And that's been my experience with the professors. I learn a great deal. And at some time we think of it maybe as mundane, but yet the mundane becomes so very, very important. As a ham living out here with very few mentors, you start doing things the way others do. And by mundane, I mean simply putting a PL259 on coax. And then I discovered that the majority of those are put on improperly. So they're suffering and never really realizing it. So I know you shared with me some time ago a method you use, which I use, and people think that's funny. My tower guy, the way I wanted to connect the coax to the tower, he's used to just using electrical tape. Well, of course, in our sun, that dries out and breaks and all. I had learned at Contest University, just somebody had mentioned, maybe Frank, using number 10 wire and twisting around there. Well, that holds up under the sun and all. Very simple deal. And here, a professional tower guy is not using that technique. So there's just dozens and dozens of little things like that, and sometimes some bigger things. Ergonomics, the way the station's arranged. I'm always curious about that. It's exciting from the first, the first event at Contest University would be on ethics. Now, how excited do people get about ethics? But I got to tell you, Tim, the presenters you have that present that, it always excites me and makes me think when I was first licensed, the hams I was around, they behaved in a special way on the air. And so that's a good reminder. The conclusion of Contest University is Rob Sherwood. Boy, do I ever look forward to that, because I learn a lot about receivers or how clean is your transmitter or new products. He talked about the Hilberling $18,000 transceiver one time. Well, I'm not in the market for one of those. And then he said, there's another radio, has similar specifications, cost $1,500. That's the Elcraft KX3. Now he excited me. And I had put together a K1 that just worked great. I wanted a KX3, but I thought, how can I justify that? I can work with my K1 and it's just super. Well, I stood in line at Dayton waiting for him to open one year and rushed in and ordered my KX3, which I've enjoyed greatly. But that's because essentially of what I heard Rob Sherwood talk about on the performance of that. So the day goes very fast, and it truly is the highlight. I might mention one other thing that people may not think about, and that is the last 2 or 3 years I've gone to the contest dinner. Now, I'm not a big contester. I will play with some of the minor ones and have a lot of enjoyment. Last year at the contest dinner, I sat next to a guy from the Ukraine that had left because of the war, moved to Canada, moved to the US. And my other side was an older couple from Pennsylvania. Avid DXer, had been on D expeditions. Well, the conversation at that table was terrific. Now, in addition to that, I won a prize again, and that's fun. I won a great book. It's not like I got a transceiver or something. Although I will admit, Tim, as I'm sure I've told you, my first year at Dayton, I won the grand prize. That was a transceiver and a complete station. But that's been a lot of years ago. But whether I win a little prize or not, the DX dinner on Saturday night is such a fun deal. starting with Contest University and then concluding with the DX dinner. And then we have the hospitality suites at the hotel. And I've stayed at the hotel you suggested, and we have an air-conditioned bus out to Greene County. I don't have to drive out there and park in the lot, sometimes slosh in the mud. The bus drives right up to the front gate. I would say Contest University has been the impetus that has really breathed new life into Dayton. And it's certainly the reason I go to Dayton, and I enjoy that very much.
Well, Jim, I think you've covered a lot of ground here with your comments, and certainly I'm very pleased to hear that you're getting a lot out of it, and it is those relationships, like you talked about at the contest dinner. You never know who you're going to sit next to in the case of the random seating, which is done on purpose so that maybe you can meet somebody new. And of course, at Contest University, that happens too during the breaks, during lunch. But you're right, the day goes very, very fast. When we start with breakfast first thing, and then we get into the presentations, and I know that there are hams around the world that can only view Contest University through the internet hooks that we have, YouTube and Facebook Live, and then the recorded sessions. But there's nothing like being there in person, and look at all the notes that you took in your textbook, and look at all those tabs on the side. Those are
This isn't the only book I have. I'm looking forward to getting a new one.
Yes, and we are Terry KMNJ has been working very hard on the new textbook, and it is outstanding this year. We have a lot of new professors, so that means that you have insight from even more people like AD4EB, like W9KKN, these guys that are real specialists in various areas: mobile contesting, portable contesting, remote contesting. And as you said, it really adapts well to the entire hobby, Jim, not just contesting, right?
Yes, absolutely. I will say, Tim, that a friend of mine went to Contest University the year before I did, and he didn't give me much information, but I did see the bag of goodies that he got. And on Wednesday night, I pick up my bag of goodies, including the book, and I go to my hotel room, and it's just absolutely like a kid at Christmas. And you haven't mentioned, I don't think anybody's ever mentioned on here before, inside there are coupons, and I use those coupons. I get a big discount at DX Engineering. There's a nice coupon. There's a coupon for the league and a number of things. And boy, that bag, the handout bag, is just really terrific. And that's an exciting event to go back to my room and look over the book and get geared up. The meals are great. The breakfast is good. The lunch is good. It's a neat deal.
We really try to make it so that it's nice and that you can get a lot out of it. And certainly, Jim, you've been very gracious in your praise and talking to other hams, especially in Oklahoma, which, as you know, has a very, very dear part of my heart, spending 14 years of my life in Oklahoma, and how friendly all the hams were, all the people in Oklahoma. And I'm really looking forward to going back to Oklahoma this July.
Good.
Where we'll keynote the speaker, the speech at the banquet for Ham Holiday. So,
that's great.
Yeah,
that is great.
I hope that you'll be in the front row, Jim.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to share with everybody something they don't know about you. I went with our section manager on field day. The last of June in Oklahoma, temperature's over 100 degrees. The wind is blowing dirt. It's just terrible. So we visited 12 or 13 field day sites. and yours was the last. Now, there's 100 extra points if you operate from a police station, a fire station, emergency operations center. You set up the site in a new country fire station, a beautiful new building, air conditioned, kitchen, bunk room, and operated, had the antennas set out, the generators set outside, and were operating very efficiently. We had just come from the top of a hill where we were just covered with dust and dirt and the heat. And then we came to your site, which was just a delight. So, and one last thing I'll mention, I heard that you were giving an antenna talk to a general prep class for exam. And I attended that one Saturday morning. Well, we talked about theory and all. Your presentation was good. And then when we went outside and built, as I recall, a curtain antenna and fired it up. And we made our first contact was New Mexico. The second one was Europe, was Germany. And it really showed with simple wire how you can be very efficient. Of course, we're using maybe a 100-watt radio, maybe not that much. But anything you do is really an inspiration. I enjoy your videos. Working during the day, I try to catch them when they're live, but typically I don't. But I get to view them later in the day. So I hope I appreciate your energy for doing these videos, and I hope that continues.
Well, Jim, it's certainly my pleasure, and it is, it has been a big part of my life figuring out how to best give back to this great hobby that has given so much to me. So I thank you, Jim. Thank you so much for coming on today. And I can't wait to see you in a few weeks at Contest University. So we wish you safe travels, and get a new tri-banner going here so you don't miss out on the sunspot cycle, and you have some good questions for W3LPL in a few weeks.
Thank you, Tim, very much.
Okay, 73, Jim. And
73.
thanks all of you for watching today. We'll see you next time here at DX Engineering. Until then, 73.